While the whole world is watching a war, Bitcoin just quietly hit $73,000. And I know what you're thinking. There's literally missiles flying, ships are on fire, Marines are being deployed, and you're talking about crypto going up? Yeah, I am. Because here's the thing. The war and Bitcoin going up are not two separate stories. They're the same story. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly why one is fueling the other. Let's get into it. So first, where are we right now? Bitcoin is up about 11% since the Iran war broke out. 11% in 13 days. While US stocks lost ground, while gold pulled back, Bitcoin outperformed everything. And March specifically, March is looking like a turning point. Bitcoin is up about 8% this month alone. Why does that matter? Because Bitcoin has had 5 straight months of red, 5 months in a row of just going down or going sideways. And now March is breaking that streak. Here's what makes it even more interesting. The traders who were shorting Bitcoin, betting it would go down, they've been paying the people on the other side to keep their trades open for 14 straight days. That's the longest negative funding streak since December 2022. You know what December 2022 was? The bottom of the last bear market when Bitcoin was sitting at $16,000. Every single time this happened over the last 7 years, this exact same setup, it marked the bottom. Every time. And then Bitcoin bounced. So yeah, a lot of people had their bets in the wrong direction. And now they're getting squeezed out. And when that happens, Bitcoin doesn't just go up a little, it tends to go up fast. If it holds above 73,000 and closes the week here, the next target people are watching is 90,000. And some are saying a new all-time high before the end of the year is back on the table. I'm not promising you anything, but the chart is looking very different from where it was 2 weeks ago. Now let's talk about what's actually happening out there, because this war stuff is not background noise. It's directly connected to everything. The US has deployed everything it has against Iran. B-1s, B-2s, F-35s, submarines, destroyers, aircraft carriers, the whole thing. And Iran, with its cheap little drones that sound like lawnmowers, is still causing serious problems. Their drones took out a $1.1 billion radar station in Qatar. Think about that. A $50,000 drone just destroyed a $1 billion facility. And now they just deployed 2,500 Marines to the Strait of Hormuz. Combat ready, amphibious assault ships, attack helicopters, artillery. Here's the thing about Marines. You don't send Marines to deter someone. You send Marines when airstrikes alone haven't worked, and ground operation is the next step. That's just how it goes. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide. 20% of the world's oil flows through it, and right now it is basically shut down. Oil went from $65 a barrel to over $94 in 13 days. Trump went on a podcast with Jake Paul, yes, a podcast with Jake Paul while the war is going on, and said, quote, "We wiped out their Navy, we wiped out their Air Force, we wiped out their leadership twice."
We wiped out their Navy, we wiped out their Air Force, we wiped out everything there is to wipe out, we wiped out their leadership twice.
And look, I'm not here to tell you what's true and what's not, but I will say this. If you're a president and your country is fighting a real war, losing soldiers, spending almost $20 billion in 13 days, and you're sitting down doing a 30-minute podcast talking boxing and TikTok, someone out there is doing the math on how this looks. Either the war is actually under control and he knows something we don't, or the midterms are closer than the exit strategy. You connect the dots. Either way, the war is not ending tomorrow, and that's important for what we talk about next. $5 to 630. So here's the part that surprises people. There's a BlackRock study that looked at how Bitcoin performs during geopolitical conflict. And the pattern is pretty clear. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Bitcoin went up 37% in 5 weeks. When the Hamas attack happened, Bitcoin went from 26,000 to 73,000. That's 175% in 5 months. Now the US and Israel just struck Iran, and Bitcoin is already up 11%. History doesn't always repeat, but it does rhyme. And here's the deeper reason this keeps happening. When governments go to war, they spend money they don't have. The US has already burned through $19 billion in 13 days. Where does that come from? It comes from you, the taxpayer. And when that's not enough, the Fed prints more. When the Fed prints money, all that new liquidity has to go somewhere. It went into stocks after COVID. It went into crypto. That's why Bitcoin went from 16,000 to 73,000 in the last cycle. Arthur Hayes, who founded BitMEX and has been right about this market more times than most people want to admit, his current call is simple. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, "There's nothing to do right now. Just wait for them to print the money. And when they do, scarce assets go up. Bitcoin goes up." Oh, and by the way, Bitcoin can survive 72% of the world's submarine cables being cut before its network even starts to feel it. The war could take out most of the internet infrastructure and Bitcoin would still be running. That's not a small detail. That's how resilient this thing actually is. Now, speaking of Arthur Hayes, let me tell you why people in crypto actually listen to this guy. He founded BitMEX. BitMEX literally invented crypto derivatives, perpetual futures contracts. The thing that half of crypto trading is built on today, he built. And now there's this decentralized exchange called Hyperliquid that's doing the same thing on-chain. And Hayes is very publicly bullish on it. Here's why that's interesting. Hayes basically invented the product that Hyperliquid is now building, but in a decentralized way. Of course, he's going to love the innovation. It's like if you invented the car and someone came along and made a self-driving version. You'd be obsessed with it. Hyperliquid controls about 70% of the decentralized perpetual trading market. It generates close to $1 billion in annualized revenue from real trading fees, not fake volume, not token incentives, actual fees from real traders. Hayes sold his position around $50 to $55, but turned bullish again after the team decided not to dump their own token allocations. He's now calling it could go to $150. He also said Bitcoin could hit $250,000 by end of year. I'll say this, Hayes is not a charity. He is very upfront that he buys, writes bullish things, and sells later. So take his targets with some salt. But the structural argument on Hyperliquid is real. And the people who follow him closely know he only gets loud about a very small number of things. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then very rarely, something with real revenue. Hyperliquid is one of those. That says something. Okay, I need to tell you about something wild that just happened, because this is the kind of thing that reminds you DeFi is still the Wild West. Someone, one wallet, tried to swap $50 million of USDT into AAV in a single transaction. The interface gave them a warning, a very clear warning that said this trade will lose you almost everything due to slippage. They clicked through the warning anyway. They put in $50 million. They got back $36,000 worth of AV. Let that sink in. $50 million. $36,000 back. You lose 99.9% of your money because you clicked yes on a warning box. Now at first everyone called it a fat finger. Someone just made a terrible mistake. But then people started digging, and what they found is strange. The wallet traces back to a guy named Garrett Jin, former CEO of Bitforex, an exchange that got a fraud warning from Hong Kong regulators, had a $57 million private key leak, and then shut down. Weeks before this swap, wallets connected to him moved over $1.3 billion in crypto. Then this happens. And on top of that, the routing platform that Aave uses by default apparently had disabled a system that catches bad trades 6 weeks before this happened. One solver got $50 million routed through a pool with $30,000 of liquidity and walked away with nearly $10 million in profit in a single block. Is this money laundering? I'm not saying yes. I'm saying the evidence is interesting enough that you should not assume this was an accident. Blockchain is open. Anyone can see everything. And what they're seeing doesn't add up to a fat finger. DeFi needs better guardrails. That's not a criticism of crypto. That's just the truth. The technology is incredible. The protections are still catching up. All right, let's bring it home. Token 2049, one of the biggest crypto conferences in the world, was supposed to happen in Dubai next month. They just postponed it to April 2027. They said safety first. They said they're confident in Dubai. But let's be honest, you don't postpone to 2027 because you think the war ends in 2 weeks. Dubai is incredible. Sheikh Mohammed turned a literal desert into one of the most advanced cities on earth. They'll be fine long term. But the short-term message is clear. Global confidence in the Middle East is shaken. And here's the thing, nobody's connecting yet. After this war, Saudi Arabia, UAE, all of them are going to massively increase their defense budgets. They got hit. They're not going to let it happen again. And you know who they're going to call first to buy weapons from? The US, the country that just spent $19 billion demonstrating exactly how advanced its military technology is in their backyard. That's not just geopolitics, that's business, and the US knows it. Oh, and one more thing. You remember when Trump visited Qatar and the royal family offered him a $400 million Boeing 747 as a gift? A flying palace. Now imagine the deals that get made in private during a war. The crypto bills sitting in Congress right now. The digital dollar discussions. The USD stablecoin narrative getting stronger by the day. Circle just overtook BlackRock as the largest tokenized treasury fund. $11 billion in tokenized US treasuries, up 27% just this year. Money is quietly moving on-chain. War or no war, the infrastructure of crypto is growing. Bitcoin hit 73,800. March is looking like the turn, and the Fed hasn't even started printing yet. When it does, You already know what happens next. Stay sharp. I'll keep you updated when it moves.